In the town of Mwani, life moved slowly along dusty streets lined with small shops and low houses. Among the villagers, Cato was known not for his strength or speed, but for his gentle heart. Years ago, an accident had left him unable to walk without crutches. Despite his condition, he never complained and greeted everyone with a warm smile. His wife, Tari, however, had little patience or sympathy. She was sharp-tongued and quick to mock him, often comparing his struggles to her own comfort and appearance. One bright morning the household was bustling. The maid, Lena, was sweeping the floor while Cato adjusted his crutches near the doorway. Tari entered, carrying a basket of laundry. Seeing Cato struggle to reach a shelf, she laughed loudly. "Even the maid is faster than you," she said, pointing at Lena, who quickly finished her chores. The words stung, yet Cato did not respond with anger. Instead, he smiled gently, his eyes calm and unshaken. "A good heart is stronger than legs," he said softly. His voice carried warmth and quiet wisdom, and Lena, who had witnessed many harsh words from Tari, stopped her sweeping to watch. There was something in Cato's calm strength that made her feel both awe and comfort. Tari, expecting Cato to feel ashamed or angry, was frustrated by his silence. Her mocking had no effect. Instead, it seemed to emphasize Cato's patience. He went on with his morning, helping Lena arrange the baskets, talking kindly to her, and never showing the slightest bitterness. In that moment, Lena understood something important. Courage and dignity were not in physical strength, but in kindness and composure. The villagers passing by the window could see the scene. Some whispered quietly to each other. "Look at Cato," one said, "even after all that has happened, he remains gentle. That woman beside him will never change, but he does not let it take away his spirit." Throughout the day, Cato continued with his tasks. Tari's words echoed in the room, but he let them pass like the wind. He carried the laundry, swept the courtyard, and even helped Lena with small chores outside. Lena could not help but admire him. She thought of how different life could be if people valued patience and the heart's strength over mockery and pride. By the evening, when the sun cast long shadows across the town, Tari had grown tired of seeing Cato's serene expression. She muttered under her breath, annoyed, but Cato simply smiled again, a quiet strength that seemed to radiate peace. Lena went to fetch water from the well, and as she returned, she whispered to Cato, "You are truly stronger than anyone in this town, not because of your body but because of your heart." Cato only nodded, a gentle smile on his lips. He knew the day would pass and tomorrow would bring more challenges, but he also knew that his calm, kind heart was a force that no mockery could ever break. And so, in the little town of Mwani, as the villagers went about their evening, a lesson quietly settled among them. Strength is not always visible, and dignity can be a shield more powerful than any weapon. By the time the stars appeared above the town, Tari had gone to her room in silence, and Lena sat by the doorway reflecting on the man she served. She realized that Cato's patience and kindness were rare treasures, and that mocking someone weak in body was a foolish and small thing. That night, the gentle hum of the evening winds through the trees carried a simple truth. True power lives in the heart, not in the legs that walk the earth. Cato, seated calmly by the fire, looked at Lena and said softly, "Sometimes the world will mock us, but it is our choice to remain good." Lena smiled, holding the lesson close. Even as the night deepened, the small house glowed with quiet strength, a reminder that kindness and calm courage are the greatest forces one can possess. From that day on, Lena often repeated Cato's words to herself, sharing them with those who visited, "A good heart is stronger than legs." And slowly, the villagers began to notice something remarkable. A crippled man could teach more about strength than any able-bodied person, and humility could shine brighter than pride. The story of that morning, of the calm man and the mocking wife, became a small legend in Mwani. Children whispered about it while playing in the dusty streets, and even the adults pondered its meaning. Cato continued to live quietly, showing through his actions that no cruelty could shake a heart rooted in patience, and that true strength lies in kindness and resilience. It was a small, simple life, but in it lay a powerful truth, that the measure of a person is not in the body they carry, but in the heart they share with the world. And so, in the humble house with a small courtyard, Cato's calm strength became a quiet beacon of hope and wisdom for all who knew him. In the heart of Mwani, Cato's small shop sat on a quiet corner of the dusty street. It was modest, with wooden shelves lined with simple goods, grains, oil, soap, and cloth. Every morning, Cato woke before the sun, adjusting his crutches and unlocked the shop's door. The townspeople liked coming here not only because of the products but because Cato treated everyone with fairness and respect. He had a gentle smile and a kind word for everyone, even those who barely had coins to pay. Lena, who had worked for him for some time, helped Cato manage the small store. He patiently taught her how to arrange items neatly, how to greet customers with a smile, and how to count money carefully. "Dreams keep the heart alive," he told her one morning as they stacked sacks of grain. "Even if life seems small, always hold on to hope." Lena nodded, absorbing the words. Every time she looked at Cato, she saw the strength of his heart reflected in his eyes. Meanwhile, Tari spent her days in contrast. She lounged around the house, gossiping with neighbors, showing off her clothes, and mocking Cato whenever she could. To her, the shop and the small life they led were beneath her. She often sneered at Lena, making the girl uncomfortable with her sharp words and proud gestures. She called Cato weak behind his back, claiming he could not provide a proper life for her. Yet, Cato never responded with anger or harsh words. He simply worked, quietly, showing by example how life could be handled with patience and integrity. Customers came and went, some smiling at the sight of Cato and Lena working together. Children lingered at the doorway, watching as Cato measured grains and counted coins carefully, never rushing, never angry. Even when a customer tried to cheat them by giving the wrong amount of money, Cato corrected them gently. "We must be honest, Lena," he said softly. "Even small actions show the measure of our hearts." Lena smiled. In these quiet lessons she found guidance not only for running a shop but for life itself. Tari often watched from the corner of the house, frustrated. She could not understand why Cato endured her scorn without retaliation. To her, patience seemed weakness. But slowly she noticed that the customers respected him more and returned to the shop because of his calm and honesty. They came for his products, yes, but also because of the quiet strength that radiated from a man who did not raise his voice even when humiliated. One afternoon, a customer brought a complaint about a broken container. Tari wanted Cato to yell and show authority. Instead, he carefully examined the container, smiled, and told the customer, "Mistakes happen. Here, take a new one and come again anytime." Lena watched in awe as the man she served turned every situation into a lesson of patience, kindness, and wisdom. She whispered softly, "I hope to be like him one day." Even at home, Cato's influence on Lena grew. He taught her small things: how to make careful calculations, how to treat people kindly, and how to find satisfaction in honest work. "Dreams," he reminded her, "are not only for the rich or the strong. Even here in this small shop, we can dream and grow." Lena thought of her future, and she began to see that her life could be meaningful and full of purpose, no matter how small or humble it seemed. Tari, on the other hand, became increasingly distant from the true rhythm of life. She mocked others openly, spent money frivolously, and ignored the lessons that Cato silently demonstrated each day. She did not notice that the villagers respected him and admired his integrity. Slowly, their neighbors began to see the difference: the calm and humble strength of Cato versus the arrogance and pride of Tari. As the sun set, casting golden light over the small shop, Cato counted the day's earnings with Lena by his side. "Every day is a chance to do better," he said. "Even if people do not see, the good we do always matters." Lena nodded, feeling the warmth of these simple truths. She understood that life's measure was not in wealth, clothes, or appearances, but in honesty, patience, and a kind heart. In the evenings when the shop closed, Cato and Lena sometimes sat quietly on the steps, watching the town settle. Birds chirped, the wind rustled the dry leaves, and the soft sounds of the village filled the air. Lena thought of how different life could be if everyone valued hearts over pride. She realized that Cato's quiet strength had already begun to change her, teaching her lessons that would last a lifetime. Tari in her room remained frustrated and lonely. She could not see the beauty in Cato's calmness. She continued to mock him silently, unaware that her words no longer held power over the man whose heart was rooted in patience and wisdom. Every day as Cato worked and taught Lena, the contrast between them became clearer, and the villagers started whispering among themselves, noting the quiet dignity of the crippled man and the emptiness of the proud wife. That night, as the stars twinkled above Mwani, Lena went to bed feeling hopeful. She thought of the lessons Cato had taught her and whispered softly, "Dreams do keep the heart alive." And in the little shop, closed and quiet for the night, the foundation of respect, kindness, and strength was being built, not through words or force, but through the gentle, patient heart of a man who had been mocked, yet never broken. From that day, Cato's small shop became more than just a place to buy goods. It became a symbol of integrity, kindness, and hope. Lena often told herself that these lessons were more valuable than gold, and she knew that one day, others would see the truth, that the strength of a heart can outshine the weakness of the body, and that patience can triumph over pride. The sun rose softly over Mwani, casting golden light on the dusty streets. Cato unlocked the shop and noticed an unusual envelope leaning against the door. It was crisp, clean, and bore the mark of a trading company from Numbo. His heart beat faster, though he remained calm. Carefully, he opened the letter, and his eyes widened as he read the words. The letter said that a trading company in Numbo had heard of his skill, honesty, and clever ideas. They offered him a partnership. His small shop, his careful counting, and the way he treated every customer with fairness had reached far beyond the village. Cato's quiet work and kind heart had earned recognition. He called Lena over. "Look at this," he said softly, showing her the letter. Her eyes sparkled and a wide smile spread across her face. "Cato," she said, "this is amazing. You always worked with honesty and now everyone sees it." She hugged him, proud not only of the opportunity but of the man he had always been, patient, strong, and wise. Tari, however, was standing nearby. She had just entered the shop, expecting her usual day of gossip and complaints. When she saw the letter in Cato's hands, her face went pale. Her fingers trembled as she realized the truth. The man she had mocked and humiliated for being crippled and slow had achieved something she never imagined. His calm wisdom, patience, and integrity had earned him success. Her pride faltered and she could not hide the shock. The villagers who had gathered to hear the news whispered among themselves. Many of them had seen Tari's scornful ways, her constant mocking of Cato, and her lack of respect. Now they looked at him with admiration. Even the children who once giggled at his crutches now understood that strength was not measured by body alone. Cato had shown them a different kind of power, the power of heart, patience, and honesty. Cato, ever humble, nodded at Lena and said, "It is not only me. Every honest action, every kind word, and every careful choice has built this path. The partnership is an opportunity, but it is the way we live that truly matters." Lena smiled, understanding deeply that she had learned this lesson from watching him every day. She felt proud and inspired to follow his example in her own life. Tari, still standing silently, finally found words, but they were hollow. I didn't know," she whispered. She realized that her attempts to mock and belittle him had not diminished him. In fact, they had only highlighted her own weaknesses. Cato, noticing her discomfort, offered no harsh words. He simply continued arranging the goods on the shelves, his calmness a quiet lesson in humility. From that day the dynamic in the household began to shift. Lena's respect and admiration for Cato grew even more, and the villagers' view of him transformed from pity to reverence. Tari, on the other hand, became a shadow in her own home, aware that her arrogance and cruelty had been outmatched by patience and integrity. Cato packed a small bag for his trip to Numbo, preparing to meet the partners and expand his work. Lena helped him, their teamwork smooth and natural. She had learned the rhythm of his calm approach, the careful way he planned and executed every task. Together they would take this new opportunity forward, showing that success could come from kindness and honesty, not from force or pride. As Cato stepped out of the shop that morning, the villagers gathered to wave and cheer. The small crippled man, once mocked and scorned, now walked with quiet dignity toward a future bright with promise. Tari watched from the doorway, humbled, finally realizing that the strength of a heart, the patience in adversity, and the kindness one shows to others could overcome every obstacle. The news of Cato's partnership spread through Mwani and neighboring villages. People came to see the man who had turned honesty and calm wisdom into a path of success. Lena stood beside him proudly, knowing she had been part of the journey, and knowing that her mentor and friend was the true measure of strength. Cato looked back at the small shop one last time before leaving for Numbo. He whispered softly, "Dreams do keep the heart alive," and felt a quiet satisfaction. Not in wealth or recognition, but in the knowledge that a life lived with honesty, patience, and kindness could touch lives, transform households, and even humble the proud. The sun was high over Mwani as a small group of men arrived from the trading company in Numbo. They wore neat suits and carried folders filled with papers that glinted in the bright sunlight. Villagers gathered around Cato's shop, murmuring in excitement. Rumors of his new opportunity had spread, and everyone wanted to see the moment when a humble, crippled man would be recognized for his wisdom and integrity. The company men introduced themselves formally. "Cato of Mwani," said the tallest man, "we have heard of your skill, honesty, and dedication. We would like to offer you a partnership with our company. Your shop, your ideas, and your character have impressed us greatly." The villagers gasped and whispered among themselves. This was more than anyone had expected. Cato bowed politely, his calm eyes scanning the crowd. He felt a warm pride but not arrogance. "I am honored," he said quietly. "But remember, a person's worth is not in walking fast but in walking right. True value lies in honesty and patience." His words, simple but strong, hung in the air. The villagers nodded, understanding that his strength had always been quiet, yet unshakable. Lena, standing nearby, could not hide her excitement. She jumped a little and clapped, tears of joy in her eyes. "Cato," she whispered, "this is what you deserved all along. You worked with kindness and courage and now everyone sees it." She reached out to touch his hand, proud of the man she had learned from, the mentor who had taught her the importance of patience and heart. Tari, however, stood frozen behind the shop counter. She had expected a man she could look down on, a husband she could belittle for being weak. But now, seeing the company men praise Cato and the villagers cheer, shame spread across her face. She realized that her scorn and mockery had not made him lesser, it had only highlighted her own pettiness. The pride she had held so tightly crumbled as she watched the man she had humiliated rise above her judgment. The company men shook hands with Cato, explaining the details of the partnership. He would supply ideas, help manage new shops, and receive a share of profits. It was more than just money, it was recognition for years of quiet, honest work. Cato listened carefully, nodding and asking thoughtful questions, demonstrating once again that patience and careful thought were his greatest tools. The villagers clapped and cheered, their admiration for Cato growing by the minute. They had seen him as the quiet, humble man in a small shop, and now they saw a man whose calm courage had earned him respect beyond their town. The children who had once teased him looked on with wide eyes, learning an important lesson. True strength is not always obvious, but it is powerful and lasting. Lena smiled broadly, feeling a mix of happiness and relief. She knew the long hours she had spent learning from Cato, the time she had watched him handle difficult customers with patience, and the care he had shown to everyone had all led to this moment. She felt proud not just for his success, but for the lessons she had absorbed, that honesty, patience, and kindness were more valuable than speed or power. Tari turned away ashamed. She realized that mocking Cato had accomplished nothing. She had looked for weakness and found none. Instead, she had witnessed the quiet power of a man who never sought to hurt others, who treated everyone with respect, and who let his heart guide his actions. For the first time she felt humility, a feeling foreign to her until that moment. Cato stepped forward, holding the handshake of partnership firmly but gently. He looked at the crowd and spoke once more. "Success is not for those who only seek it for themselves. It comes to those who walk rightly, who treat others with respect, and who keep the heart strong even when the world doubts them." The villagers cheered again, their voices echoing across the small town. After the ceremony, Lena and Cato returned to the shop. Lena carefully arranged the shelves, smiling as she thought about how far they had come. Cato began planning carefully for the new partnership, his mind full of ideas, strategies, and hopes for the future. He had never sought recognition, but now he carried it with quiet dignity, knowing that his patience and honesty had brought it. Tari stayed behind, quietly picking up fallen coins from the floor. She realized she had been blind to what truly mattered. She had mocked the man who showed courage in the smallest actions, patience in the hardest moments, and love without condition. For the first time she wished she could take back the words she had spoken, but she could not. All she could do was learn from the man she had once tried to humiliate. As the sun began to set over Mwani, casting long shadows across the dusty streets, Cato looked toward the horizon. The future held new challenges, new shops, and new responsibilities, but he felt ready. He had walked rightly, and now the world recognized it. Lena stood beside him, her heart full of pride and hope. Together they had proven that quiet strength, honesty, and patience could overcome ridicule and doubt. The villagers went home that evening with a new understanding. They had witnessed a man's life transform not through anger, pride, or force, but through steady, honest work and the kindness he showed to everyone around him. And even Tari, humbled and reflective, began to see that life's lessons were often learned from those we least expect. In this case, a quiet, crippled man whose heart was stronger than anyone's legs. Cato's shop in Mwani became more than just a place to buy goods. It became a symbol of honesty, patience, and quiet strength. With Lena by his side, arranging shelves, helping customers, and learning the trade, the business grew steadily. Villagers from nearby towns began visiting, drawn by the reputation of a man who ran his shop with fairness and care, treating everyone with respect regardless of their status or past. Every day, Cato worked carefully, counting coins, arranging goods, and giving advice to younger men who wanted to start their own shops. He did not boast about his success. He simply continued to act with the same calm patience that had always defined him. His limp did not stop him from walking with purpose. His weakness in the eyes of others had always been his strength, for it had taught him perseverance and empathy. Tari, who had once mocked him openly, now found herself quiet and reflective. She could not deny the respect people showed Kato or the admiration Lena had for him. Watching the villagers praise him, she understood for the first time that cruelty and mockery brought nothing. Her pride had been hollow and she felt the weight of her past mistakes. Yet Kato did not scold her or show anger. He simply smiled politely and continued his work, demonstrating the power of forgiveness without words. Lena, who had learned so much from Kato, often helped him teach others. She guided young apprentices, showing them how to treat customers fairly and honestly. A good heart is stronger than any skill, she would say, echoing the lessons she had learned from Kato's life. People began to understand that success was not only measured by money or speed, but by the way one treated others and faced life's challenges. Tari slowly adjusted her behavior. She started to help around the shop, sometimes hesitantly but always sincerely. Kato did not demand it. He simply continued his example of patience and kindness. Over time, Tari felt a change in herself, a quiet respect and understanding that life rewarded humility and compassion more than mockery and cruelty. The villagers often told the story of Kato, Lena, and Tari as a lesson for children and adults alike. Parents would remind their children, never underestimate a good heart, for it can overcome ridicule, hardship, and even weakness. The children watched Kato walk steadily through the village, his calm demeanor teaching more than words ever could. Even those who had once doubted him began to see that true strength often lies in patience, forgiveness, and integrity. Kato's business continued to thrive. He expanded the shop, added new products, and sometimes hired more villagers to help. Yet he never lost his humility or his kindness. Every coin he earned, every customer he helped, was a reminder that perseverance and honesty bring lasting reward. His limp, once mocked, was now a symbol of endurance and courage. Lena stood beside him one quiet evening, watching the sun set over Mwani. She remembered the first day she had met Kato, the first lessons he had taught her, and the way the villagers had once doubted him. Now everything had changed. The village had learned, through the life of one humble man, that true respect is earned not by showing power or pride, but by walking rightly, being patient, and treating others with kindness. Even Tari, now a changed woman, often reflected on her past behavior. She remembered the shame she had felt when Kato's wisdom and patience brought him recognition. She learned that mocking or humiliating someone does not diminish them, it only reveals one's own weakness. She never forgot Kato's silent forgiveness and the way he had shown her a better path. The story of Kato, Lena, and Tari spread beyond Mwani. Travelers would stop at the shop, not only to buy goods but to hear the tale of the man who taught his village the value of a good heart. His life became a living lesson, that strength is not always visible, courage is not always loud, and forgiveness can be the most powerful act of all. Years passed and Kato grew older, but his calm and patient nature never faded. Lena continued to run the shop alongside him, teaching the next generation. Tari remained humble, sharing the lessons she had learned with younger women in the village. The villagers often spoke of them, telling their children, "See how a good heart walks through life. It conquers more than anger, pride, or cruelty ever could." In every corner of Mwani, people remembered that one simple truth: the heart that is kind, patient, and forgiving carries power greater than any other. Kato had once been mocked, humiliated, and underestimated, yet in the end he showed everyone that true strength comes from walking rightly, helping others, and letting your heart guide your actions. And so, Kato, Lena, and even Tari became symbols of wisdom and patience. The village learned to value honesty, respect, and kindness above all. The story of their lives, of mockery turned into humility, weakness turned into respect, and cruelty turned into understanding, became a quiet legend in Mwani, reminding generations that a good heart is the greatest gift one can carry through life.